The Vindicator shuddered as another shockwave slammed into its aft. Panels burst from the ceiling, cables snapped like whips, and the deck groaned beneath the crew's boots. "Elara, they're not backing off," shouted Dax, hands flying over the navigation panel. "2 Zorvani interceptors on our 6 and gaining." Captain Elara Miles didn't flinch. Her left eye was swollen, blood trickling down from a shallow cut, but her voice was iron. "Take us into the debris field. Burn the reactor hot and mask us in their own wreckage." "They'll follow us into hell," muttered Tira, the ship's ex-Zorvani engineer, fingers dancing across glowing glyphs. "And they won't even blink." "Good," Elara replied. "Then we'll show them what hell feels like." The wreckage field was the twisted aftermath of a fleet that had resisted too long. Charred hulls, shattered cryopods, drifting bodies and half-burnt EVA suits, it was all that remained of the Alari Confederation's last stand. Now, the Vindicator tore through it like a needle through a blood-soaked veil. Missile lock warnings screamed. Dax yanked the ship left, scraping a torn cruiser hull, sparks flaring across their viewport. A pursuing Zorvani fighter clipped a jutting tower and disintegrated. "That's one down," Dax grinned. "I love flying through cemeteries." "Less flirting with death," Tira snapped. "More shielding, if you please." Elara ignored them. She was focused on the core mission. Survival was not the goal, delivery was. The encrypted message drive, buried in the ship's vault, contained evidence of Earth's systematic erasure. Not conquest. Erasure. The Zorvani hadn't just destroyed cities. They'd sterilized ecosystems, erased digital archives, and severed orbital data relays. Elara had seen a library world burn, its oceans boiled, not for strategy, but to ensure Earth's culture never rose again. Not on her watch. "Status of the core?" she asked. "Warp drive is half dead," said Tira. The stabilizer coils cracked. "We could make a jump, but there's a 50-50 we end up in a sun." "I like those odds," Dax grinned. Elara turned sharply. "You'd like being vaporized?" "No," he said. "I'd like dying after we send the message." Her mouth twitched. The crew had earned her trust 100 times over. They weren't soldiers, they were the broken pieces of Earth's fall. But they followed orders. They fought like wolves. Elara opened a private comm to engineering. "Status?" she asked. A rough voice answered. "Cooling systems holding by prayer and spite. Reactors running hot. If we push warp now, she might tear in half." "Is might closer to will or probably not?" "A beat. You'll get your jump. Just don't ask me what comes out the other end." Elara nodded. "Do it." The engineer didn't protest. None of them did. Behind her, the message core sat encased in a hardened polyshell, ugly, black, no bigger than a child's backpack. Inside, proof of genocide, stolen from a Zorvani war archive by Tira herself. Images of scorched cities. Audio of civilians hunted in biolabs. Testimonies, redacted data trails, hidden patterns. Evidence that Earth wasn't the first, and wouldn't be the last. "Captain," said Dax, "they're charging beam weapons. Evasive pattern Delta." "Thought you'd say that." The ship dropped beneath a shredded station scaffold just as 2 lances of violet energy carved open empty space where they'd been. Dax twisted the helm, flipping the ship through the gap in the station's hull, then righted them between the rotating ribs of a fractured dreadnought. Behind them, one Zorvani interceptor turned too hard and exploded against a rusted superstructure. "That's 2, Dax said. "And we didn't even fire." Elara's comm beeped. "Engineering to bridge, warp ready." "Not pretty. But it'll go." "Coordinates for the Varix Nebula?" Tira checked. "Loaded. 8.7 parsecs. 30 seconds to charge." "Do it." The Vindicator aligned. The Zorvani warship behind them fired again. This time, the beam grazed the port wing, melting the armor and cutting through to one of the life support lines. "Oxygen pressure dropping," Tira warned. Reroute and seal off Deck 4, Elara ordered. Deck 4's were the hydroponics. I said seal it. The oxygen cut. The ship groaned, but held. Warp drive began its charge. Core hum rising. Lights flickering. Every bolt vibrating with the raw stress. Then the bridge door slid open, and one of the junior technicians staggered in, face pale, blood at his temple. Sabotage in the engine bay, found a Zorvani pulse beacon. They're tracking our quantum emissions. Tira's hands froze. That's how they keep finding us. Get rid of it, Elara said. We can't. It's wired into the coolant loop. We rip it out now, the reactor cooks us. Elara stared at the countdown. 10 seconds. 9. Push the jump, she said. But, Tira started. Now. The Vindicator's hull screamed as the drive engaged. The stars stretched into white threads, time folded in on itself, and the ship vanished into the warp stream, bleeding, burning, but unbroken. They emerged moments later, deep inside the Varix Nebula. Silence. Only the faint hum of the reactor and the crackle of overloaded circuits. No pursuers. No signals. No light. Just the dense, magnetic storm cloud of ionized gas and stellar radiation, perfect cover for the wounded predator. The crew didn't cheer. No one high-fived. They simply stared at the void, exhausted, knowing this was just a pause between storms. Elara sat slowly in her chair, looking toward the message core. One ship, she whispered. One crew. One message. Behind her, no one spoke. They didn't have to. They understood. Earth didn't kneel. And neither would they. The Varix Nebula swallowed the Vindicator whole. Here, light didn't travel clean. It fractured into oily ribbons, bent around invisible mass pockets, and flickered like dying neon. No signal in. No signal out. It was the perfect graveyard to disappear in, and the only shelter they had. Still bleeding radiation from the aft, Tira said, crouched beneath an open panel on the bridge floor. And if that pulse beacon's still active, we're lighting up like a bonfire in the dark. Elara didn't look at her. She was staring at the viewport, watching static clouds twist like the ghosts of gas giants. We'll deal with it, she said. One leak at a time. I used to hide in places like this, Tira added. When I ran. Before I found Earth. Places that swallowed guilt. No reflections out here. Elara's voice dropped. We're not here to reflect. She left the bridge, walking the narrow spine of the corridor. Bulkheads bore scars from earlier impacts, singed metal, carbon scoring, dried blood in one hallway. The ship hadn't been meant for long-term combat. It was a prototype, unfinished when Earth fell. She'd stolen it from a hangar deep under Olympus Mons, months after the last resistance group was wiped out. The ship was supposed to be a symbol. It became a weapon. She passed crew quarters. No one spoke. They were resting or pretending to. No music. No laughter. Just tired people clinging to defiance. She reached her private quarters and keyed in. Inside, the lights flickered low. Sparse, a bunk, a terminal, a locker. Above the bed was a small projection frame showing an image of Earth, not the globe, but a city street in autumn. Trees on fire with color. Children in jackets running through piles of leaves. It hurt to look at it. So she didn't. She sat at her terminal and opened a private log. Audio record, Captain Elara Miles. Encryption active, ***. Earth fell not with a scream but a deletion. One system at a time. When the Zorvani came, they didn't fight to conquer. They fought to erase. I watched museums burn before they bombed military targets. I watched networks severed before airfields were touched. They didn't want us. They wanted the idea of us gone. I took the ship to carry the one thing they can't destroy, truth. And if we die before delivering it, then we are no better than ashes drifting behind us. End recording. Her comm beeped. Dax *, Captain, you should come to the mess. Kids asking questions we can't answer. She didn't hesitate. The mess was half-lit, power rerouted from non-essentials. 4 crew sat around the central table, nursing reheated rations. Rourke, the youngest, barely 20, looked up when she entered. You think we'll make it? He asked. Elara didn't break stride. If we don't, someone else will. That's not an answer. You want to lie? He hesitated. No. I want to know it's worth it. She stopped at the table. When I joined the fleet, I thought war was about strategy. Numbers. Firepower. I was wrong. The Zorvani proved that. They don't fear our weapons. They fear our memory. That's what we're carrying. He looked at the others, uncertain. So, if we deliver the message, what changes? We light a match, she said. And matches start fires. Rourke leaned back, eyes glassy. My brother died trying to upload a broadcast from the Himalaya node. Got caught mid-sentence. Vaporized on a live feed. Elara didn't flinch. Then don't waste his sentence. Silence fell. No argument came. She turned and left. Later, in the engine bay, Tira hunched over the beacon interface. The device had fused itself into the cooling system, cleverly disguised as a relay node. It pulsed faintly every few seconds, silent to most scans, deadly obvious to the right ones. Dax stood nearby, leaning on a bulkhead, chewing dried fruit from a ration pack. You ever think about just letting it send? He asked quietly. Tira paused. What do you mean? He shrugged. Send false data. Let them chase ghosts while we slip out the other side. Tira smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. That's not how they work. They don't chase. They cleanse. She flicked a panel closed. Sabotage like this? It's meant to send one message: we're inside your ranks. Dax grimaced. Think one of ours turned? No, Tira said. I think we were never alone to begin with. Hours passed. The ship drifted in silence, hidden deep in the nebula, the stars beyond veiled. In the war room, Elara reviewed route projections. Their next jump would take them to the lunar outpost known as Echo 9, an abandoned mining relay used by smugglers and rebels. Maybe Kalen had left something behind. Maybe not. But the path was narrowing. The door opened. Tira entered, holding a charred component. This, she said, dropping it on the table, was the pulse beacon. Dead now. Fried it with a plasma spike. We're ghosts again. Elara eyed it. Was it Zorvani? Tira nodded. No doubt. Elara crossed her arms. Someone planted it. Which means someone knew where we'd be. Tira met her gaze. Kalen? Possibly. Or someone else playing both sides. Tira hesitated. You still trust him? I trust what he used to be, Elara said. But desperation changes men. Tira folded her arms. So what do we do? Elara stared out at the sickly light of the nebula. We deliver the message. At night cycle, the crew gathered on the bridge. It was ritual now, something to remind them they were still alive. Elara stood before them. Not to inspire. Just to center. We're not here because we want revenge, she said. We're here because Earth meant something. Not to them. To us. The idea of Earth, of home, memory, meaning, that's what they're afraid of. Not our fleets. Not our weapons. Us. She looked to the message core. They erased our world. But they missed a ship. No one applauded. But they stood straighter. Outside, in the heart of the nebula, the Vindicator began a slow crawl toward its next waypoint. Ahead, betrayal, pursuit, fire. But they were ready. Because Earth didn't kneel. And neither did they. The moon was dead. Elara stared at the jagged silhouette of Echo 9 through the viewport. Once a bustling mining and data relay, now it hung over a cratered wasteland like the fossilized ribcage of a giant. The docking ring was broken in 3 places. Its signal towers lay in pieces across the regolith. No lights. No beacons. Looks like a tomb, Dax muttered. Let's hope it's still as bones worth stealing, Elara said. Tira keyed in the landing sequence. Atmosphere is stable in the central core. Pressure holding. Gravity's patchy. Any movement? Elara asked. Tira hesitated. 1 heat signature. Faint. Could be a generator, could be a trap. Elara turned to the crew. Gear up. The docking clamps hissed as the Vindicator touched down on the moon's surface, sending a spray of dust across ancient scaffolding. Elara led the away team, Tira, Dax, and Rourke. Each wore reinforced EVA suits, their visors pulsing with HUD data. Their boots crunched over lunar rock and splintered alloy as they crossed the gap to the station entrance. The main hatch stood half open, frozen in place. Tira scanned the seal. Manual override only. Electronics are fried. Rourke stepped forward. Let me. He cranked the emergency valve. Metal shrieked. The door finally gave, revealing a dark corridor lit only by residual phosphor strips along the floor. They stepped inside. Echo 9 smelled of oil, ash, and time. Everywhere they looked, signs of abandonment. Graffiti in half a dozen languages. Bullet holes. Bloodstains turned to rust. Equipment stripped. Terminals gutted. It had been scavenged, then forgotten. They moved deeper. Past the hydroponic dome, now a collapsed greenhouse of shattered glass. Past the crew quarters, graffiti reading asterisk, "We never begged." Asterisk. Then a voice, echoing faintly through the comms, "Stop right there." The team froze. Lights flickered to life in a maintenance tunnel ahead. A figure stood in the glow, gun lowered but ready. Older, gaunt, wrapped in a ragged exosuit. Elara Miles, he said. I hoped it wasn't you. Kalen, she replied. The man exhaled. You look worse than I imagined. And you look alive. That's more than I expected. Kalen lowered his weapon. You shouldn't have come. We need your archive node. He laughed bitterly. It's gone. Stripped for parts weeks ago. I barely kept the generator. We're not here for power, Elara said. We have a data core. We need a safe transmit point. Kalen stepped aside slowly. Then you're out of luck. Every relay on this rock's been burned. The Zorvani swept it clean. Tira stepped forward. Not every relay. The emergency broadcast node, if it's hardwired, it might still punch through short range. Kalen's eyes shifted. Maybe. But the cost of trying is high. We didn't come this far to stop at maybe, Elara said. He led them through the tunnels. They reached a chamber behind reinforced steel. Inside, dust-coated terminals hummed faintly. One stood apart, half covered in frost, its antenna shaft leading up into the lunar soil above. Kalen looked at it. It's unstable. I was saving it for a last call. You're looking at one, Elara said. Tira approached, inspecting the node. It'll take a deep connection. A data dump this size will light up every Zorvani probe in system. How long do we need? Elara asked. Tira frowned. 5 minutes. Maybe less. But we'll be seen. Kalen looked up. Then we don't transmit here. They turned. There's a backup transducer, deep in the old mines. Built before the station was commissioned. Still hardwired, off the grid. It was used to ping supply barges pre-satellite era. I've kept it buried. Elara stepped closer. Can it handle the load? No guarantees, Kalen said. But it's your best shot. They descended. The tunnels stretched down like veins, deeper and darker with every level. Old signs were still visible: Sector D4, emergency vent lines, lift inoperative, use manual descent. No lights. No safety rails. At the bottom, the transducer. A rusted monolith of pre-colony tech, half built into the rock. Kalen brushed ice off a panel, revealing faded keys and a flickering screen. Tira plugged in the message core. Data flowed instantly, bytes pulsing across ancient circuits, feeding truth into the bones of the moon. Elara stood guard. Time? For minutes, Tira said. No errors so far. Suddenly, Rourke swore. Captain, we've got incoming. Zorvani's ship dropped out of slipstream above the crater. How many? Just one. But it's a Hunter class. And it knows exactly where to look. Dax clicked off safety on his rifle. Guess we're lighting that fire. Elara's jaw tightened. We hold the line. The sound of thrusters echoed above, closer now. The station's roof groaned. Then, tremors. The Zorvani were landing. 2 minutes, Tira snapped. Elara knelt beside her. If we fall, does the message send? Tira didn't look up. If I finish the sequence, yes. It's encrypted. Send in fragments, randomized bursts. They'll never catch it all. Kalen checked the tunnels. If we split up, we buy time. I know this rock. I can lead them down the wrong shafts. Elara looked at him. Are you staying or running? He met her gaze. Staying. She nodded. Then take Rourke. Dax, you stay with us. Explosions rocked the upper levels. The mine shook, dust raining down in clouds. Tira's hands flew faster. Last phase uploading. Contact in 30 seconds. Rourke shouted. Go! Elara barked. Kalen and Rourke vanished down a side tunnel. Dax took cover behind a crate, rifle aimed at the entry. Then, silence. 1 heartbeat. 2. And the hatch above burst open. 3 Zorvani dropped in, tall, armored, moving like fluid metal. Their weapons glowed with charged plasma. Dax fired. The first collapsed, circuits sparking. Elara shot the second mid-leap. The third advanced, too fast. Tira screamed. Message sent. Elara turned and slammed the detonation charge she'd hidden on the node. The chamber exploded in white flame. Darkness. Then breath. Tira coughed, crawling from rubble. Dax was alive, arm bloodied. Elara was slumped against the far wall, suit cracked, visor shattered. Captain. Tira rushed over. Elara opened her eyes. Did it go? Tira nodded. The message is gone. Broadcast in 5 fragments to 5 old-world nodes. It's out there now. Elara smiled, blood trailing down her cheek. Then we won. Outside, the Zorvani ship began to rise. But it was too late. The signal had gone. To smugglers. To rebels. To the hidden, the angry, the waiting. The truth had escaped the silence. 1 ship. 1 crew. 1 message. Earth does not kneel.